What's up, cash flow hackers? It's Chris, and today we are continuing the Money Principles series. We're talking about the Rule of 72. You can see I just got done doing the video talking about how the Rule of 72 impacts what your needs are from a purchasing power perspective. How does it impact how your investments will perform, what your expectations around how much you need to save are, and ultimately, how does it impact the value of your money? This is a key concept that I think a lot of people don't understand. And even if you understand it and you've heard it, probably haven't thought about it in the way that I'm going to share in this video that I just got done sharing. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Once again, I'm doing this full series because I believe that without financial freedom, there is no freedom at all. I'm trying to educate people on this stuff, and I'm really passionate. I'm dedicating to doing a series of this over the month here because I think it's so important. So please share this out, share it on social media, share the links to the playlist. I'm gonna have the link in the description below for the playlist. Share it out. I'm literally, a lot of people to take this and do this would offer it as a course and would charge or would make you opt in. I'm doing it here for free with no expectation because I think it's so important for you to understand it. So go ahead, take a look, dive in, share it out. I really appreciate you and honor you that you are on this journey and taking the time to learn this. And so that's it. I will see you in there. Hey, what's going on, cash flow hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and for this video, we're continuing the Money Principles series, talking about the Rule of 72. And I think, once again, I'm doing this because I believe that without financial freedom, there is no freedom. You need to understand financial concepts and principles, the basic stuff that all of the people are going to be trying to teach you and sell you, and utilizing lingo and jargon that, honestly, if you don't know it, maybe you don't understand it. And if you don't understand it, you don't want to feel stupid and like there are all these things. So the goal of this series is to help you have more confidence when you're having conversations with people, and also so you can make more educated decisions for yourself, so you can make the better decisions to reach financial freedom faster and go down a path of self-discovery and become who you need to be to get to where you want to go. And so for this video, this is going to be a fun one because we're talking about the Rule of 72. Now, a lot of people don't know what the Rule of 72 is. It's really, really simple. But not only do I want to explain what it is, I want to explain how it impacts you in your life, how you need to be thinking about things, because this is a really, really big concept, and it's going to have a huge impact on what you do with your money. It's going to have a huge impact ultimately on what you need your money to do for you between now and when you retire, when you want to reach financial freedom. Because when you understand, I promise you, by the time this video ends, you're going to have a better understanding. You're going to understand this inside and out, first of all. But once you understand this inside and out, it's going to change the way that you think about what you need to do with your money and why it's so important. So, and I say that, and I know it sounds bold, and I know it sounds pretty extreme and intense, but I promise you, I won't let you down. So let's get into this. I'm going to get to the board here, and we are going to get this thing rolling. So let's go. So what is the Rule of 72? So the Rule of 72 is basically saying, all right, the Rule of 72 is how long does it take, how long to double? So the Rule of 72 is saying how long to double. And it's just a mathematical equation. So in money, personal finance, we're talking about a couple things. You're looking at either a rate of return, or you're talking about inflation. These are the two things that are going to have the greatest impact on your money. So when we look at the rate of return and the rate of inflation, the Rule of 72 here impacts both of these, but it impacts them in different ways. So what does this look like? So the rate of return is saying, okay, how long is it going to take for my money to double? So if I have a 10% annualized rate of return, what I do is I go in and I say, okay, I'm going to do 72 divided by 10 equals 7.2, obviously, right? So what is this? That means if I have $100,000 in an account and I'm getting a 10% return, and this is an annual return, it's going to take 7.2 years for my money to double to $200,000. Sounds really good, right? So the idea is like, okay, if I know 7.2 years, that means in 14.4 years, I'm gonna have $400,000, right? That money is gonna double. That means in 21.6 years, I just keep adding the 7.2 on that, I'm gonna have $800,000. So you could start doing numbers and you could be like, all right, that's good. I know how to kind of track what my expectations are for my money to double and to get the results that I'm after. This rule of 72 is important. Now I use the 10% because the 10% return, because of the fact that it kept my numbers really easy to deal with. But I could take 72 and divide it by different numbers. And let's talk about this for how it impacts. Oh, we just covered rate of return. Let's talk about how it impacts inflation. Okay, I'm gonna come over here real quick. So as we talk about how the rule of 72 and inflation impacts it, let's look at today's money. Let's look at what's going on in the world today. Now, I don't know if you know this, but this is really important because what is more important? Let me go here. I wasn't gonna go here in this video, but I'm doing it. So what's more important? The fact that you have $100,000 in an account, or maybe, let's just stick with 100,000. Or let's say it's $100,000 of income, right? Or no, let's talk about money. Let's talk about strict money. I'm gonna keep it straightforward. You got $100,000 in an account. So what's important to understand is that the Federal Reserve says that they have a target rate of 2% inflation, okay? This is an important thing to understand and how it correlates to the rule of 72. So with the rule of 72, you say we got 72 divided by 2 equals 26 years. So that means your purchasing power loses half its value in 26 years. So meaning this $100,000 will be worth, if you got 0% return, 0% on this, right? If you got 0% return on the 100 grand, over a 26-year period, it's gonna be worth $100,000, but it's only gonna buy you about $50,000 in today's value, right? In 26 years, right? That's important to understand. That is, the Federal Reserve is intentionally doing this. Like, let that sink in for a second. They are saying that our target rate of inflation is 2%. They've kind of lost control of this, right? And so right now, inflation is 8.1% at the time I'm filming this video, right? And so when I go 72 divided by 8.1, I want to get this right. That means every 8.9 years, your money is going to lose half of its purchasing power, okay? So that means, I am going to do this. That means if we don't get inflation under wraps, remember, it doesn't matter how much money you have. What matters is what that money buys you. And so when you understand this rule of 72, you start to look at like, okay, there's two components. There's rate of return and there's inflation, and they both go together. You can't look at one without the other because one has an impact on the other. Like, I don't care if you go get 10% return in your investment accounts this year. If inflation is 10%, you really didn't win because you don't have any extra purchasing power, and that's the point of investing, right? And so that is the challenge that most people don't realize. And so with 8.9 years, you're gonna lose half the money of your purchasing power. It's gonna get cut in half. So what does that mean? If you have an income of 100,000, and you could do this with any income, I'm just gonna use really easy round numbers. That means 8.9 years from now, you need a $200,000 income just to maintain your standard of living, right? How confident are you that if you don't develop your skills and you just stay who you are right now, that 9 years from now, you're gonna have double the income, working the same job that you're having? That's the biggest problem, is that wage growth is not keeping up with inflation, right? And that's why we're having so many challenges right now. And I believe that the lack of understanding about the rule of 72 here, the lack of understanding about how this plays into your life, how it impacts inflation based on what your needs are. And I think, and not understanding how it impacts like what your needs are going to be in the future, right? Because think about it this way. let's say and I'm gonna try to break this down and make it 50,000 for income, right? And let's say you follow the traditional methodology and you say, okay, I'm gonna save 10% of my income, right? So you save 10%, and I'm saying you're following traditional mindset, which is $5,000, right? So you save that. So what does that mean? That means your lifestyle is 45,000. Okay. So with the rule of 72, with let's say, and by the way, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna round up to keep it simple. But the average since 1971, when we went off the gold standard, the average rate of inflation, even though the Fed tries to keep it at 2%, but the average rate of inflation is 3.94%. So I'm just gonna round to 4% for the sake of argument. So when we go 72 divided by 4, let's do this. 72 divided by, I should be able to do that math in my head, it's 18, right? So that means every 18 years, you lose half your purchasing power. So what does that mean for you? If you're starting your career, let's say you're 25 and you have 40 years, right? 25, yeah, 40 years to get to retirement, and you're following the traditional methodologies, and you got 40 years. That means if you are going to and you're earning 45,000, that means 18 years from now you're going to need 90,000 for your lifestyle. I'm going to do lifestyle here. And that's just today's money, right? That's just today's money for you to not increase your standard of living. I don't know anybody that's 25 right now that doesn't want to increase your standard of living, right? Like hopefully you're ambitious enough to want to like improve and develop and grow and make your life better and whatnot. But this is saying 18 years, this is what you're gonna need. 36 years from now, you're gonna need 180,000. Right? Because it's going to double from 90 to 180. So 36 years from now, just to maintain your standard of living at $45,000 a year, you're going to need $180,000. Think about that. That's pure insanity. And I think if you go backwards in time, you realize like, oh, the money that I'm making now, and if you're 50 something and you're watching this and you're like, hey, when I was 25, like in the 80s, it about checks out, right? Like the math, like of what the purchasing power of the money was back then, what people were earning, what assets cost, what homes cost versus what they are now. It's all driven by this. And this is just a metric for you to be able to kind of think about and set expectations. Don't let some financial advisor tell you, oh, buy and hold and the S&P is going to get you 8% and whatever. You'll never be successful doing that. It doesn't work because you can't beat the power, the negative side of what inflation does to this. So what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do this in this video, but I want you to subscribe, because if this makes sense to you, tomorrow I'm launching a video and it's going to be on the 4% rule. It's going to be explaining the 4% rule because, like I said, this series is about you understanding and being educated. And this video we just covered is this rule of 72, right? It's all on one sheet here. The rule of 72. When you combine the rule of 72 and you understand that, and then you also combine that with the 4% rule, which is going to show you about what you can expect to have your investments earn for you on a safe basis. I'm going to get into that tomorrow. Then you start to realize, how much money do I need to have in retirement? How much money do I really need? What do I need for assets following traditional financial methodology to be able to retire and maintain my standard of living on a guaranteed basis for the rest of my life without taking on a lot of risk? Now, like I said, I'm talking about like, what are your needs going to be? That's what the rule of 72 is going to talk about. What are your needs for lifestyle, right? This is not how much money you need to have in an account. This is what it's going to cost for you to live that 180, 36 years from now. If you're 25 right now, by the time you're 61, at 61 years old, you're going to need 180 grand just to maintain your standard of living. And like I said, hopefully you want more than that by the time you're 61, right? And so that's what that's going to cover. Tomorrow, we're going to cover what do you actually need to do to be able to accomplish this on a predictable basis. And when you see it, I think it's going to scare the crap out of you. My goal is not to scare the crap out of you. My goal is to educate you so you can start thinking about these things differently. And that's why I'm telling you, you need to share this out with people, because people need to understand these concepts. People need to realize that they can have control over this. And I promise you, if you just come along with me on this series and you watch these videos day in and day out, I'm going to systematically walk you through a process. You know, because a lot of people ask me, Chris, why are you so fired up about this stuff? Because I think if you follow this series with me over the next month, right? And if you're just catching this video for the first time, go back and watch it from the very beginning. I'll put the link to the playlist in the description below. Watch it from the top and watch it in sequential order, right? And when you do that, I promise you it will make a huge, huge impact in the way that you make your financial decisions, the way you look at life, and then it'll help you execute in a more powerful way that puts you in control of the results in your life. And that's the scary part. Like, most of the people right now in this world don't know enough to be able to actually have control. And they're putting their money in the wrong places, giving up control, putting their money in places that are not in alignment with their values and their beliefs. And ultimately, when you do that, you're not going to be as confident. You're not going to have the control, and then your subconscious, you're always going to be fighting it. You're never going to be able to win a battle with your self-conscious. If you don't believe subconsciously you're going to be successful, which, let's face it, I think everybody's intuition is like, okay, this makes sense, right? Like, you look at it and it's like, okay, what do I do about it? I didn't understand it. Well, now you know it. Now you're consciously aware that this exists. And so my encouragement to you is keep the journey going. Check it out tomorrow. Subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell. Look for the video tomorrow, and that's it. If you have any questions about this stuff, comment in the comment section below. I will do my best to engage with every single one. And until next time, until tomorrow, have a blessed, inspirational day. We'll see you then.